How does the financing behind movies work?
Each movie is different, and I've been a part of almost every category. You know, I think if your business is to be in the studio system, then you're going to put your concentration on if you're a writer, if you're a writer, director, filmmaker, put your concentration on writing something that is going to get you into that system, or directing a short that's going to get you into that system, where the financing is coming from a studio, and that it's with that comes more restrictions. You're dealing with many more layers of gatekeepers and things like that. But I've always loved that process. I mean, I started with Clive's company. I started in that system, in the studio system, and setting up projects at studios. And you're kind of really honing that screenplay to fit the budget if it's in the millions. If you're doing a project that's in the millions and you're like, okay, the funny thing that I've found is that doing a project that is multi-millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it never feels different in the process of making the movie. You're always hit with the same constraints in a way, and you just adjust to it. It's weird how you think it would feel drastically different, but it doesn't to me. Now, the other ways, like with Scott, when we worked, the films we did in Florida, those were financed with private equity. So Scott put the man hours in to cultivate relationships with people not in the film business. Because there's a lot of people in the world that have money and they're in finance or business, and they, making movies is sexy, or it's an adventure, or it's, they'll have like, I'll come to set and I'll be part of this process. And also a lot of people don't need to make their money back. It's not, a lot of financing is a write-off to their other business. So film, makes sense to them. They can put a lot of equity in something and they don't need a payout right away. It's something that builds over time. And so that's one way to do it. And now with things like Kickstarter and, Indiegogo, people are self-financing with crowdfunding, which is something that I have not done personally, but know a lot of people that have. There's a lot of ways to fund a picture right now. And I've kind of been part of most of them. I think one of the most pragmatic ways is you're dissecting the movie and its components. You're bringing in relationship financiers that are selling overseas, right? They're going to the film markets like AFM and Berlin, and they're taking your poster and they're taking your concept and they're pre-selling markets, or they're raising it based on an actor you may have in the film, and they're saying, okay, we can give you $500,000 to go shoot this movie. So there's just so many different ways you can fund a movie now that there is no one way, really.
What are your thoughts on putting your own money into your movies?
I think if you're doing a short, then yes. Like I think, if you can raise money yourself, you can use your own equity, you can have family give you funds, then for sure, because that's an investment in your career. You should try to get as much as you can to make that best short as possible, because that's going to be your calling card, and it can launch your whole career. So I think that's, if you're doing a feature, I would never recommend it. Like I don't think making an independent feature is going to return your investment. I think that's a dangerous thing to do, because unless you're winning Sundance, there's not a lot of people that get big opportunities from making features. Like something you learn when you go to Cannes is that you walk through that marketplace and you realize, okay, there are thousands of movies being made every year that never see the light of day. And here they are at this marketplace. I always thought that was really fascinating. That it was like, okay, and it makes you also kind of reinforces what you're doing in a sense that like, okay, you're making movies that are getting seen by audiences and getting good distribution thing. That's hard, for like never anyone who gets their movie out there, like never disparage that, like, oh, I wish more people saw it. Like if you get distribution, you've won a huge part of that, because so many movies don't. So I would never say, put your own money into a feature.
You say that someone who gets distribution, they're already sort of miles ahead. But what if that movie doesn't make a penny back? What if they see nothing from their distributor? Should they still say, hey, look, I've accomplished something?
Well, yeah, because it's a stepping stone to their career. I think in indie filmmaking, the movie making money is going to be a long road, for the most part. So I don't think anyone should get disparaged by. Also, distributors are always going to be a bit cagey about how much the movie's really making, and when you see the reporting, and it's not cut and dry, and it's very technical, and I think most people don't expect their movies to make money right away. So if someone's distributing your movie, they have a 5-year plan. They have a 5 to 15-year plan. They know that this is going to make this much money by year 9 or 10, and that's part of their business. So I don't think people should ever get caught up on the money and how much money it makes. You should get caught up on, does it open doors for you? Are the right people seeing it at festivals? Can you get it into the right people's hands? Because you're always going to have to take control of that to some extent, and not just expect people to like knock on your door. Like, hey, you want to make a movie? You've just made this movie, you want to make another?
Will you begin filming before you have your entire budget in place?
I've never done that, but I know filmmakers that have, and they film when they can. They may be shooting only on the weekends, or they'll shoot as much. And you can do it. You can put a reel together. All right, if you're shooting, you put a reel together and try to get more financing. So if you're really confident about your idea and about your vision for it, then it's a way to do it. If you can get a teaser together and then bring that to financiers or distributors, you could raise the other funds, or getting other talent involved. It's a good way to do it.
Have you been to many film markets? You said you walked through Cannes and you saw all these titles.
I mean, especially when I was with Clive, we'd go to the film markets a lot, and we'd see the movies there. We'd watch the new, because we were always looking for writers and directors to adapt Clive's stuff, and so we could set up his projects. So we would go to the markets a lot and watch movies. And with a film, I don't usually go with a film. Like the film may go, I don't often travel with it, but sometimes we will, just to kind of be a part of it, or if we're having a screening there and we can afford to send us all, we'll go.
What's the best lesson you can teach us about movie financing?
I think it changes on a yearly basis. And I think if you're a filmmaker that wants to get a feature made, and I think it's always going to be challenging to raise that equity yourself. I think right now is a good time to really hone your concept. Make sure you have a concept that not only is personal to you, but is something that other people are going to want to get excited about. So you're bringing something fresh and new. And I feel right now is a time to make shorts. That's my opinion. That's what I'm seeing in the market. There's a lot of short content going around again. It was like that in the mid-2000s. I feel like it's like that again. A lot of filmmakers are getting opportunities based on their shorts, their short stories even. Not even short films, but short stories. So if you can put a chunk of change in a short and make it look like a feature, you make it look as sophisticated as you can, and also make sure it's a proof of concept that someone can be like, I could turn this into a movie. I can't say that enough, that if you're making a short just because you think it's a cute short or a good story, but if you just want to make short films and that's your thing, then by all means. But if you want to be shooting features and you're going to spend all that effort and money and time on a short, make sure it's a proof of concept for a larger idea. Something that someone can be like, oh, this would make a great film. This is a great idea. I can see this has legs for a feature. I think that's really the way to do it, because then the financing will find you.
What about financing in a down economy? You talked about, mid 2000s. Okay, well, 2005 versus 2008 is going to have a lot different opportunity. Not sure where we are in the economy currently, but it seems like it might be tougher.
I think it's on the sizes too. I think if you're, when Scott was raising money and he's doing it in a state, he was doing it in Florida where, he had made contacts with people that were wealthy. I think at one end, a down economy only hurts certain classes. People who have money are still going to have money. They're not affected by the economy in the same way others are. And movies are always been known to be resilient in recession. So I think it's approaching it the same way. But if you're making a short, you have a lot of options at your disposal to raise funds if you're doing a crowdfunding or something like that. Because you can make a short, you can make a good short for $1,000. I mean, you can make a great short for $30,000. So in that realm, if you can raise $1,000 to make a short, just make sure you're telling the right short for $30,000. I just watched a short the other day that was very contained, almost no lighting, but it was a great concept, and I could see that, oh, this would make a great movie. So it was 2 rooms, but it was enough to, and it also got picked up by a studio. So it works if you can find the right idea. You don't need a ton of financing to do it.